Hello friends, and welcome back to Rachel's Baking Corner. Today we will be making blueberry ricotta scones. Now, you might be thinking, I thought you've done scones already. Well, what I did previously was kind of an easygoing scone where you just make the batter, scoop it with a spring-loaded ice cream scoop and plop it on a pan. This is a traditional scones recipe. I'm not sure if ricotta cheese is a traditional ingredient in scones, but I'm very intrigued by it. I'm imagining rich, delicate, crumbly pastry because of this ricotta cheese. It's a whole milk ricotta cheese with some refreshing blueberry and then a little bit of a lemon glaze on top of it. Oh, I don't need to say anything else. You should know this is going to be fantastic. So without further ado, let's talk ingredients, tools, order of operations, and we'll get baking. Yeah. So first, let's chat ingredients. Some of the ingredients for the glaze and stuff I haven't really portioned out yet just because of the clutter, but let's talk the base ingredients for these scones. So first things first, we have 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour, and then we have our active ingredients. I've put them all in here, including the sugar, okay? In this little container, I have 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/3 of a cup of granulated sugar. All in here so that it's easy for me to just, Oh, and then also a teaspoon of lemon zest. So all of that, all the active ingredients, sugar and lemon zest, are in these 2 containers. Then you need 1 stick of butter, unsalted, chopped up into cubes, very, very cold. So this has been sitting in my freezer, and I'm gonna put it back in my freezer until right before I throw the ingredient in, because we want it nice and chilled. Then we have 1 large egg beaten. We have a 1/2 cup of whole milk ricotta cheese and 3 tablespoons of whole milk. And in here we have 8 ounces, approximated, of frozen blueberries. You could certainly use fresh. I just wanted to use frozen because it's what I'm more used to. That's really the only reason why. And then you're gonna need another large egg, cracked and beaten, to make an egg wash on top, a teaspoon of milk to go into that egg wash, and then 2 tablespoons of sugar to sprinkle on top. I don't really know why you have to measure that. Just sprinkle some sugar on top, Sugar for sprinkling. And then you're gonna need 2 tablespoons of lemon with 3/4 of a cup of Confectioners Sugar to make a quick little glaze to go on top of the scones when they are cooled. Next, let's chat tools. Believe it or not, this flour here is a tool. This is just extra flour to sprinkle on my bench while I'm working on the dough so that it doesn't stick. Need I say more? Then we have a flexible silicone bench scraper, bowl scraper. This just makes cutting up the butter into everything and scraping and moving the dough a lot easier. I like flexible because I can take care of it with a bowl and I can do it on the bench and it's no problem. Rubber spatula and whisk, nothing fancy, mixing bowl, and that's about it. I don't even think you need a mixer for this recipe because think of a biscuit. This is kind of like a biscuit recipe, but with sweeter ingredients. I'm gonna be baking this in my toaster oven. Let's get to it, shall we? Yeah! So from reading over this recipe, it's pretty simple as far as I can tell. I hope I'm not foreshadowing any problems. We're gonna start with the flour, and I'm gonna keep this bowl for mixing my wet ingredients. Then we're gonna add our sugar, our active ingredients, our salt, and our lemon zest all into the flour. I'm gonna take my whisk and I'm going to incorporate all those ingredients together so that the active ingredients are suspended in the flour. The lemon zest is kind of broken up and suspended in the flour as well. I imagine as soon as the liquids hit that lemon zest, it's gonna be delightful. So want that all spread around. Then we are going to get our butter and we're gonna plop that in here. It is still very cold, so that's perfect. That's what we want. So if you think back to my 7-Up biscuits, the biscuits and gravy video I did, we're gonna do something very similar. We're gonna just use our bench scraper to stab at this butter in the flour and move it around to break the flour up into little pieces. This bench scraper might be a little too soft. I might need a harder one. We want to mash this together, basically, until the butter is crushed up into the flour and it resembles coarse meal, like cornmeal or something. Let's try the hands. Let's just do it. And then we can kind of finish off with the bench scraper. My problem is I have long acrylic nails, so that can be kind of difficult at times, but anytime you're making a pastry, whether it's biscuits, pastry dough, pie dough, scones, croissants especially, which you are not going to see on this channel anytime soon, I can tell you that right now. You want to use cold butter so that when you roll everything out or laminate everything out or plop it into a ball, whatever it is you're making, you want that cold butter to stay in one piece, so that once it is put in the oven and heat is applied to it, the butter melts in place of that dough, leaving a pocket of air, buttery, delicious air, which makes for those flaky layers that you love in a croissant or in a pie crust, you know? So that's what cold butter is used for. Oftentimes in a lot of crust recipes, especially pastry, you'll use ice cold water as well. I'm getting flour all over the place. I kind of feel like the flour is creating a barrier over the butter so it's not melting too fast. I'm just basically taking my anger out and squeezing it. This is good anger management, just let it out. Let's get our bench scraper and just kind of chop it up a little bit just to make sure there's no more huge lumps of butter. So now we're going to trade these spots. I'm going to use the same bowl that I used to hold my flour. I'm going to put the ricotta cheese, the ricotta cheese and the milk in this bowl. Our egg that's supposed to be beaten up, and I haven't beaten it yet, so let me do that really quick. And I'm just going to whisk this together just until combined. We don't want any huge chunks of ricotta cheese. We don't want any puddles of milk or egg. Just get it all combined. It's very jiggly. Okay, so we're gonna slide this back over. Let's pour this in. So in the recipe, it says to use a fork and fold the ingredients together until just moistened. I'm not gonna bother dirtying a fork. I already have a rubber spatula here. So I think the trick, just like with biscuits and stuff, is to not overwork it because you want those chunks of butter. So I'm just gonna move this around until all the flour seems to have a little bit of hydration in it. Then we are going to get our blueberries, add them in, and then gently fold them into the dough. It kind of warns you that it's okay if some of the blueberries break up. So let's move this aside. Let's flour our bench space here. Not too much though, because we don't want to like dry the scones out. And just get it all out. So before I use this, I think I'm going to just use my hands and just bring it together. It's very cold. I'm just going to press it into an 8-inch ball. It's a lot of flour. Okay. Just really want to make sure those blueberries are in there. I feel like it's too many blueberries, but ooh, wheel. Okay, a couple blueberries are going rogue. That's okay. Probably for the best. It's like every time I touch it, a new blueberry flies out. Okay, 8 inches, I don't know. Okay, this is getting wetter and wetter by the second, so let's just call that good. And then this is, I guess, where the classic scone shape comes from, is that we're just gonna cut these into quarters. Let me grab a knife, bench scraper. I don't know yet, let me grab something. So I will be using my toaster oven, no surprise there. So I have my little sheet, my baking sheet, lined with a silicone mat. I'm going to use my offset spatula to try to cut my pieces. I like how the dough has kind of been stained blue. It's really pretty. And it says to cut into 8, so we've got 4. All we gotta do is cut these pieces in half and try our best to pick it up and just kind of plop it onto the sheet. I don't know, this just seems like a lot of blueberry. It's breaking. I don't know if they're gonna puff up or if they're gonna shrink or what, but I'm just kind of pushing them together. A scone is usually pretty rustic looking, so in my first scones video, pretty sure you hear me say that, but I'm not trying to make them look all that pretty, you're just trying to make them. So it's good. I just want them to be in one piece. That's really what matters the most to me. Okay, so I can only fit 4 scones onto this baking sheet. So let me get my other baking sheet. So my oven just preheated. I have these 4 done. I'm gonna throw them in while I'm getting the last 4 taken care of, since I can only bake 1 tray at a time. This is 400 degrees for 18 to 20 minutes. Indicator, I guess, is just for the tops to be lightly golden brown. I'm gonna prep my other pan, get these cut and put in the fridge until they're ready to be baked, and then we'll get the icing started. How about that? Yeah? I almost totally forgot. You gotta brush them with an egg wash and put a little sugar on them. So I've got 1 egg beaten with a little splash of water or milk, whatever you like. I have a silicone brush here. I'm just going to brush the top with my egg wash. This is gonna make for a glossy finish. This was also a step I didn't do in my other scones recipe. So a little bit of differences. Then we're gonna get some granulated sugar and just sprinkle it on top. Even though we're gonna be putting a glaze on. I don't really know why this is part of the recipe, but it is, so. Now we'll get them in the oven. All right, friends, let's make the glaze or frosting or icing for these scones. You can use any type of option that you'd like to squeeze your lemons, but squeeze your lemons. I'm just gonna use my little lemon press here. Whenever you're making a glaze, you don't usually need a lot of liquid. Oh, I just got sprayed in the face with lemon. I want an instant replay of that. It's everywhere. I hope my makeup isn't ruined. Oh, it's everywhere. Okay. I mean, thank God it didn't get in my eyes. That would have sucked. Okay, now we're gonna get our powdered sugar. I think I said 3/4 of a cup. I'm just gonna eyeball it. Oh, man. I've said it once and I say it again. I hate powdered sugar. And we're just gonna whisk this together. I'm literally inhaling powdered sugar as we speak. You wanna whisk this nice and slow because it will get everywhere. I mean, it's going to regardless. I really think the lemon is gonna complement the ricotta richness and then the sweetness of the blueberries. So I'm really excited for this combination. If you didn't want this to be super lemony, you could just do a little bit of water with powdered sugar. You could do an egg white with powdered sugar. It's totally up to you. Mine's definitely too runny, so we're just gonna add some more sugar, cautiously. Oh, this scones smells so good right now. My house smells delightful. Just freaking, just all of it. I haven't been saying it in my last few videos because I feel like it should kind of be common sense, but I link all of the recipes in the description box so that you can make them yourself. I find my recipes on Pinterest. I just scroll Pinterest and the algorithm decides what it's gonna show me, and I just save stuff. Oh, this looks perfect. That looks great. And so I always wanna give, what's the word I'm looking for? I always want to make sure that the actual creator of the recipe is being recognized. We're gonna get a close-up on these scones. Timer's done. All right, 18 minutes just went up. Oh, they look nice and golden on the top. We're definitely gonna pull these. Oh, they smell so good. They smell buttery and rich and sweet. Okay, so that took exactly 18 minutes. I don't think they needed any longer, so that's perfect. I'm just gonna zest some lemon, let these chill for about 10 minutes, and then we're gonna frost them while they're still warm so that the glaze can kind of melt into the scone. So, yeah. All right, our scones are out of the oven. They look beautiful. The only problem is, as I kind of expected with that much blueberry, there is some structural integrity that I'm not confident in. The reason why I say that is because traditionally, with my other scones, they were scooped out, they held together like a batter. I was able to just dip them in the glaze, set them on a rack, and let the excess drip off. With these, I do not feel comfortable dipping them because I don't think they would survive that. So we're just gonna have to brush the glaze on, which is totally fine. I even think that might be what the recipe says, but I'm lazy. So I'm gonna just scoop my scones off of the tray. They're not like totally weak. I think you want them to be delicate and crumbly, but I'm not the gentlest person. Oh, they smell so good though. These have been resting for about 10 minutes. So I have my frosting here, powdered sugar, lemon, and lemon zest. I'm gonna get my silicone brush nice and coated, and I'm just gonna brush it. I might need two hands for this. Notice that I do have it on a cooling rack. That's just so the excess can drip off the sides without pooling at the bottom of the scone. Not that that's really a bad thing, but you typically want it to just drizzle off the side. Just trying to make sure I get the edges and stuff, you know. And so you want them to be warm still so that that glaze really melts into the pastry. And thins. You don't want it to be super thick and taste just like powdered sugar. You want it to thin out and glaze like a donut. My first ever job was at Dunkin' Donuts, so I learned that there, believe it or not. I also think the glaze might help the scone hold together a little better. Kind of glue those little creases together and cracks and keep it together maybe. We'll see. Good. And I have just enough glaze for the next batch. So I'm gonna let these drip, put them on a plate, and I'll probably set them in the, well, I don't wanna set them in the fridge. I'll set them on a plate and they'll set on their own in just a little bit. I'm covered in frosting. Here, my friends, are our finished scones. I'm so excited because pouring the glaze while they were still warm, some of the glaze kind of mixed with the broken pockets of blueberry. So you just see these beautiful streaks of blue and purple. Oh, they look shiny and crispy and delicious. You'll notice there's one missing. This one turned out really ugly, so this is the one that I'll be tasting. I don't know what happened. I have no explanation. Yay! I can hardly contain myself. Let's taste these. Let me get close. I mean, you did just get a close-up, but here's the scone. Looks more like a slice of cake. A delicious slice of cake. It's still warm. It smells lemony and fantastic. Let's just break off a piece. Oh, and I wanted to mention, I understand now for the egg wash and the sugar, it did make for a crispier exterior. So I understand the point of it now, because then with the glaze, just crispy, glossy deliciousness, I get it. So just wanted to mention that. Okay, here's our bite. Let's give it a try. Softer than I was expecting, which is good. not chewy. Not like glutinous. I was worried it was overworked or something. I don't know. It's gentle. Is gentle the word I'm looking for? It's soft, it's delicate, it's buttery. We got lots of good blueberry goodness going on in there. It is not sweet, like overly sweet by any means. Honestly, without that glaze, it wouldn't be sweet enough. But I like my breakfast stuff kind of sweet, so. Both those little pockets of blueberry, you get this mild, sweet, fruity flavor, but then you get that ricotta, which is rich. It has like a little sharpness to it because it is cheese. I don't know if you can hear that crisp exterior. That's great. I'm gonna eat this whole thing, my gosh. With a cup of coffee or a hot cup of tea. Oh, that's a morning moment that I think everyone deserves, 100%. So I highly recommend this recipe. I would do a little less blueberries, believe it or not, just because it made for some structural problems. Maybe I should have mashed it together. I don't know, it wasn't really a dough. So that's just my opinion. Maybe fresh blueberries would have fit in there a little bit more. Maybe the wetness of the frozen blueberries made it hard to kind of like mash together. I don't know, but it's delicious. I definitely recommend it. And you could try it with raspberries, you could try it with strawberries. I'm sure there wouldn't be a huge difference. I definitely recommend that lemon. I think that sharp, soury zing with the sugar and the blueberry and the mellow ricotta cheese just works so well together. So highly recommend. Now that they've set, they have a little more structural integrity. So I'm honestly contemplating not even taking these to work. I think these are gonna be for me and my family because they're delicious and I really like them. I'm gonna be selfish like that. Sorry. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like if you did. Comment down below any recipes you'd like to see from me. I recently got a recommendation for fudge, so I might look into that. I never made fudge before, but it's not exactly a baking recipe, but we might try it. So please leave a comment down below if you have recommendations that you'd like to see me try to make. Subscribe, and I will see you next week for another video. I hope you have a good day. I love you. Take care. Mwah. Goodbye.